have a very, very tender spot for this movie. It's very hard to look like you're having a fun time when you're like,
37 years after its release, Dirty Dancing still has a lot of us in a chokehold. The beloved 1987 movie made Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey into superstars. But did you know that it was almost never released? That's right. The most iconic romance movie of the 80s was nearly scrapped, and the reasons why, along with several unnoticed scenes from the movie, are hard to believe. Luckily, we're here to break everything down and expose all the unnoticed secrets of the hidden Dirty Dancing scenes. Movie title. If there's one thing record-breaking movies have in common, it's that there's usually a bit of a squabble concerning the title. Take, for instance, the issues with the title change for the 1990 movie Pretty Woman, which would have otherwise been called $3,000. But before Richard Gere and Julia Roberts graced our screens and captured our hearts with their performance, there was Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey in Dirty Dancing. At the time of the movie's release back in the late 1980s, things like on-screen nudity and scandalous titles were a big deal. Naturally, producers tried to stray away from any issues that might rub the general public the wrong way. However, the producers of the movie didn't realize that the title Dirty Dancing was a wee bit scandalous. In fact, it became such a big deal, leading censorship officers to hesitate as they initially believed it was an X-rated movie. The movie had been based upon the real-life occurrences of the screenwriter Eleanor Bergstein, and she later shared in an interview that authorities at the Canadian border had held up the dailies because they thought it was an X-rated film. The studio was still pretty adamant about what they wanted the title to be, and thus, Dirty Dancing was retained. Patrick Swayze, on the other hand, wasn't too happy with this outcome. According to him, he had despised the film's name and even fought to have it not be called that. He shared his grievances during a 1987 interview with reporter Bobby Wigand, where he admitted that he absolutely hated the Dirty Dancing title and would rather it was called something else. He added that that was what the studio went with, and unfortunately, they were stuck publicizing a movie with a title the actors didn't even like. Well, we're not sure how to feel about Patrick's grievances, considering the other title option was I Was a Teenage Mambo Queen. So yeah, let's just thank goodness they finally decided upon the original title. The title squabble was not the only threat to the Dirty Dancing movie that we all know and love, as there were more radical changes that would have altered the movie beyond recognition, and this was perhaps the biggest one. Other actors. It's not unusual to hear that a role almost went to another actor, but when said role brings in millions of dollars and skyrockets an actor to overwhelming popularity, people can't help but wonder who might have missed their chance to become the next big thing on TV. The role of the brooding dance instructor, Johnny Castle, in Dirty Dancing is a prime example. Actors like Billy Zane, Benicio del Toro, and Val Kilmer were all considered before Patrick was cast in the role that would make him a superstar. Interestingly, Patrick had extensively trained at the Harkness and Joffrey Ballet schools, making him almost a shoo-in for the role. Still, he had problems on his own that might have hindered the casting process. In fact, the film almost didn't include Patrick at all, as it was confirmed when filming began that Billy Zane was going to play Johnny. Eventually, he had to be let go when the producers noticed he had no chemistry with Jennifer Grey. It is also said that the director remained adamant that they choose dancers, such as Patrick, who could also act because he didn't want to have to use the stand-in method. Similarly, before Jennifer herself was cast as Baby, actresses such as Sarah Jessica Parker and Winona Ryder auditioned for the part. Jennifer later revealed that she was paid $50,000 for the film, a modest sum considering the movie's eventual success. Additionally, despite her previous experience working with Patrick in Red Dawn, Jennifer, who, unlike her co-star, was not a trained dancer, admitted she was terrified to partner with him. She shared this in a 2016 interview where she said Patrick was a great dancer and he was fearless. In her words, his fearlessness combined with my fearfulness, like his lack of Jewishness and my super Jewishness, created a dynamic that was almost like a marriage of opposites. He'd do anything, and I'd be scared to do anything. Seeing how they got along in the movie, one would never imagine that there was initially tension between the two leads, and they often clashed due to their different approaches to acting. Patrick himself described these early conflicts in his 2009 autobiography, The Time of My Life. He wrote that Jennifer seemed particularly emotional, sometimes bursting into tears if someone criticized her. Other times, she slipped into silly moods, forcing them to do scenes over and over again when she'd start laughing. This tension was evident on set, and the filmmakers had to work hard to keep the chemistry between the characters alive despite the off-screen friction. Yet, it was this very tension that contributed to the palpable on-screen chemistry that audiences loved. The push and pull between Patrick's confidence and Jennifer's vulnerability added depth to their characters' relationship, making their eventual connection all the more compelling. Unexpectedly, Dirty Dancing became a massive hit, and both actors' performances were widely acclaimed, with Patrick's portrayal of Johnny Castle turning him into a heartthrob and a household name, and Jennifer's role as Baby becoming iconic. In hindsight, the casting choices and the behind-the-scenes dynamics seem almost serendipitous. So much so that lovers of the film can't even imagine other actors embodying the roles as much as the original duo. To many, it's a fascinating reminder of how the right combination of talent, timing, and even tension can create cinematic history. Unscripted scenes. There's no denying that from the beginning till its final credits, Dirty Dancing leaves audiences with a sense of joy and nostalgia. However, it is now common knowledge that the atmosphere behind the scenes was very different. We've already established that the main actors had a bit of a problem getting along in the beginning, but as a result of this and other issues, the filming process was fraught with challenges. Case in point, one of the most beloved moments in the film is the musical montage where Johnny and Baby practice the mambo for their big performance, and Johnny ends up trailing his fingers down Baby's arm. This scene, filled with Baby's uncontrollable giggles and Johnny's mounting frustration, was entirely unplanned. Shocking, right? In reality, the giggles were actually all Jennifer, as she was genuinely ticklish. Now, you might be wondering if Patrick's ensuing irritation was also real, and the answer is yes. He was in reality genuinely upset by Jennifer's spontaneous laughter. According to Linda Gottlieb, the producer, they didn't even remember they had that footage because they eventually shot the scene where Jennifer didn't laugh. It was only when they were in the editing room that their dance editor found the scene we all know and love. Linda shared that when they initially saw it, they burst out laughing, leading them to show the scene to Jennifer and Patrick, who also burst out laughing when they saw it for the first time. All of the laughter wasn't just because the scene was cute and fun, but because they'd all completely forgotten that this had even happened. Eventually, they thought it was so funny that they decided to use it instead, and voila, it became one of the movie's most memorable scenes. Another impromptu moment that made it into the film is the playful scene where Johnny and Baby dance to Mickey and Sylvia's Love is Strange. It might surprise you to know that such a heartfelt moment wasn't in the script either. In fact, the actors were unaware that the cameras were rolling as they rehearsed for the upcoming scene, leading the cameras to capture their unscripted interaction and genuine chemistry, adding an authentic and endearing touch to the movie. Unfortunately, despite these moments of spontaneous joy, the overall filming experience was tough as a result of the conditions they filmed in and Patrick and Jennifer's overall off-screen relationship. In the end, the result was a film that would be loved for many generations to come. We can't help but wonder if we'd still have some of these memorable scenes if the directors had chosen other actors for the roles. Definitely not. Cold temperatures. When we're talking about Dirty Dancing's filming conditions, we certainly cannot overlook the iconic lift scene in the lake, a moment that became a turning point for Patrick and Jennifer, who bonded over the grueling experience. However, there's more to the scene than meets the eye. Filming commenced on September 5, 1986, and wrapped up in a swift 43 days, but the production faced numerous challenges, one of which was the extreme weather conditions. On screen, the atmosphere appeared summery, but off-screen, outside temperatures soared to 105 degrees Fahrenheit. Then there was the heat on the inside, which grew more intense with the camera and lighting equipment pushing temperatures to a stifling 120 degrees Fahrenheit. In fact, the choreographer, Kenny Ortega, recounted that during one particularly grueling day, 10 people fainted within just 25 minutes of shooting. Veteran actress Paula Truman, who plays Mrs. Schumacher, also collapsed and had to be rushed to the local emergency room for dehydration. Patrick also ended up needing medical attention as his commitment to performing his own stunts led to multiple falls off the log during the balancing scene, severely injuring his knee and requiring fluid to be drained from the swelling. The lift scene, though challenging to film, became one of the scenes that thoroughly captured the actor's perseverance and dedication. Jennifer reflected on this experience in her 2022 memoir, Out of the Corner, in which she revealed that she and Patrick saved the infamous lift for the climactic final dance scene, wanting to ensure it was captured perfectly. "What you see between us in that scene was also real," she wrote. "Real gratitude, real respect, real care. If that's not love, what is?" In the end, all the hardships endured during filming paid off. The authenticity of the emotions and chemistry between the lead duo transcended the screen, contributing to the film's lasting legacy. Speaking of the weather conditions during filming, set decorators were forced to go to great lengths to maintain the summer vibe? Just how did they manage this in the dead of winter? Summertime. Due to delays, the filming of Dirty Dancing shifted into the fall, forcing the crew to get creative in order to maintain the illusion of a warm summer at Kellerman's camp. In reality, the scenes were filmed in autumn, requiring some clever tricks. The grass and leaves were spray-painted green to mimic a summer look, but the real challenge was the temperature. The infamous swimming scene, which has become iconic, was shot in October when the lake's temperature had dropped to a freezing 40 degrees. Despite her character's joy, Jennifer later admitted the water was horrifically cold, revealing that she only managed to endure it because she was young and hungry. Patrick also recalled the brutal conditions in his autobiography, describing the lake as horrifyingly, hypothermically cold, and noting that they filmed the scene repeatedly. With summer long gone, the lake scene where Johnny lifts baby was a painful ordeal, made worse by Patrick's own physical struggles. Despite his background in ballet and modern dance, the rigorous demands of the film were tough on him. However, his commitment to delivering an authentic performance led to the creation of the unforgettable lake scene, despite the harsh conditions. The challenges went beyond the freezing water. Patrick's lifelong dance training was pushed to its limits by the many dance sequences, yet his on-screen performance never revealed the pain he endured. His professionalism ensured that every movement appeared effortless, adding to the film's lasting appeal and the undeniable chemistry between the lead actors. Their shared struggles during the filming process not only brought them closer but also contributed to the film's success, which was vital since the two lead actors actually did not get along and initially had chemistry issues. One would imagine that the chemistry between the dynamic duo on and off screen was impeccable. While it might appear that way on screen, it was a totally different scenario between the actors behind the scenes. Not many people know this, but Dirty Dancing wasn't the first film where these two actors shared the screen. It was actually in the 1984 classic, Red Dawn. According to people who knew of their relationship during the filming of the 1984 film, this marked the beginning of tensions in their relationship, which reportedly made producers hesitant to pair Patrick opposite Jennifer in subsequent projects. Although it's unclear what the reason behind their rift was, what's widely known is that they were often at loggerheads as a result of their different acting styles. Fortunately, despite any underlying friction, they managed to set aside their differences long enough to create a culturally significant movie. Years later, Jennifer revealed to The Hollywood Reporter, reflecting on their dynamic, "His fearlessness with my fearfulness together was like a marriage where you have two opposites. He'd do anything, and I'd be scared to do anything." It might be surprising, but the chemistry viewers saw on screen didn't necessarily translate off-screen. Reports suggest that although they portrayed a convincing connection in the film thanks to their acting skills, they often clashed behind the scenes, sometimes even arguing before filming began. In his autobiography, Patrick recalled moments of friction, stating that there were times after long shoot days when tensions arose. In moments like these, Jennifer could be quite emotional, occasionally breaking into tears if criticized. Other times, she'd get giggly, making them redo scenes. Kenny, who worked closely with the duo, reflected on their working relationship, saying that both of them brought so much every day. Sometimes it was conflict, sometimes it was love. But in the end, there was something between the two of them that was unexplainable. They were like human fireworks. You might be wondering why they were both cast, considering their differences, but you might be surprised to know that both of them actually nailed their chemistry test. In fact, in order to get them to work together seamlessly, they were made to re-watch their prior chemistry test so they could recall how seamlessly they worked together. And it worked out just fine. These glimpses behind the scenes reveal the complexity of their professional relationship. Despite any personal differences, they managed to deliver memorable performances that continue to resonate with audiences decades later. Their ability to channel their contrasting personalities into compelling characters speaks to their talent and professionalism, even amidst challenges. Jennifer's nose job. Jennifer's career trajectory was marked by notable highs and unexpected lows. In 1986, she captivated audiences with her portrayal of Jeannie in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, where she stole scenes despite being trapped upstairs during her brother's escapades. The following year was the year she skyrocketed to fame as Baby in Dirty Dancing, immortalizing herself with the iconic line, "Nobody puts Baby in a corner, come on!" Following the unexpected triumph of the film, Jennifer seemed ready for a lifelong charmed career. Sadly, just before the film's premiere, tragedy struck. She was involved in a devastating car accident that claimed 2 lives and left her boyfriend, Matthew Broderick, severely injured. This deeply traumatic event cast a shadow over what should have been her moment of triumph. Years later, Jennifer made a decision that would alter her appearance and career path immensely. At the time, she didn't yet know this, but soon enough, she would discover that the decision she'd thought would greatly impact her career would end up altering it for a very long time. In the early 90s, Jennifer made the decision to undergo rhinoplasty, a choice that drew criticism and speculation about its impact on her acting career. Unfortunately, complications from the surgery necessitated a second corrective procedure, resulting in a transformation so drastic that even her closest acquaintances struggled to recognize her. Reflecting on this turbulent period, Jennifer candidly shared her experience, saying that it was like she had a disfiguring accident where she became more conventionally pretty. But it destroyed what she built and what she believed in. She described the aftermath as life-altering, a turning point that shattered her previous identity and career trajectory. Despite the setbacks, Jennifer found a silver lining in the ordeal, describing it as one of the most important experiences of her life. Following all of her experiences, she emerged with a new memoir titled Out of the Corner, where she discusses these transformative moments with unflinching honesty and her journey of self-discovery and resilience in the face of adversity. The memoir reflects on this defining moment in Jennifer's life, stating that thanks to Dirty Dancing, Jennifer ascended to superstardom in the late 80s and early 90s, and she would make a fateful decision that would alter her public persona forever. The aftermath of her rhinoplasty had been so disorienting that Jennifer herself contemplated a complete reinvention, even entertaining thoughts of changing her name to distance herself from the fallout and start her career from scratch. Ultimately, she chose to confront the consequences head-on rather than retreat. Unfortunately, the impact on her acting career was undeniable, as the surgery, intended to refine her appearance, inadvertently disrupted the momentum she had gained in Hollywood. Although she was able to get her life back on track, many supporters and fans shared their displeasure with her new look. Some even stated that she looked boring and like every regular person in Hollywood. While it's impossible to return her nose back to its initial look, Jennifer has learned from her past choices and is determined to make the most of it. Little Faith. When Dirty Dancing premiered on August 21, 1987, few could have predicted the lasting cultural impact it would have. Made on a modest budget of just $6 million, the film seemed like it was destined for a short, unnoticed run. The script had even been rejected a shocking 43 times before it was finally picked up by Vestron, a small studio willing to take a chance on it. In 2012, Linda, a key figure in the film's production, shared the story of how it almost didn't get made, revealing just how improbable its success really was. Filming wrapped up on October 27, 1986, both on time and within the allocated budget, but the road to success was far from smooth. The team was not satisfied with the rough cut, and Vestron executives were reportedly concerned about the final product. They feared the movie might flop, as initial screenings of the film were underwhelming. A staggering 39% of test viewers did not even recognize that abortion was a central subplot. When the film was shown to producer Aaron Russo in May 1987, his reaction was grim, even suggesting that they should burn the negative and collect the insurance, a sentiment echoed by the anxious Vestron executives. Marketing was another uphill battle. A planned deal with Clearasil fell apart when the company objected to the abortion storyline, demanding that it be removed. When the filmmakers refused, Clearasil backed out, leaving Vestron to handle the promotional efforts on its own. Initially, the release was slated for July, but they ultimately set the premiere date for August 16, 1987, with a plan to launch Dirty Dancing in theaters for just a weekend before quickly moving it to home video, an area where Vestron had more experience, given its roots in video distribution. Despite all these obstacles, Dirty Dancing defied expectations and became a massive success. It grossed an impressive $230 million at the box office, far surpassing its modest production budget. The film even won an Oscar for Best Original Song, "I've Had the Time of My Life." Reflecting on the initial rough cut and the criticism they faced, Eleanor, one of the producers, recalled the harsh early reviews, noting, "Producer Aaron Russo told us to burn the negative and take the insurance. Everyone kept saying what a negligible piece of junk it was." This harsh criticism, paired with the many challenges faced during production and marketing, made the film's later success even more remarkable. Today, Dirty Dancing stands as a cultural phenomenon with timeless appeal. Its story, unforgettable performances, and iconic soundtrack have made it a beloved classic. What began as a low-budget film with uncertain prospects has become a cherished part of cinematic history, reminding us that sometimes the most unexpected projects can have the most profound and lasting impact. The success of Dirty Dancing is proof that even underdog films can rise to legendary status, leaving an indelible mark on popular culture. Given the impact that Dirty Dancing had, a lot of people have asked, why has there not been a sequel to this iconic movie? Sequel? In 2020, E! News confirmed that Jennifer Grey would executive produce and star in a new Dirty Dancing film. While details of the plot remain under wraps, Jennifer herself confirmed in an interview with the Los Angeles Times that she would reprise her iconic role as Baby. She shared that she was excited by the challenge of looking at it from the point of view of what happens when it's 30 years later and it's the 90s. Unfortunately, the release date for Dirty Dancing 2 was delayed due to the recent SAG-AFTRA strike, impacting the production and promotion schedule. Initially set for a 2024 release, the film has now been pushed back to the summer of 2025. Despite these delays, Jennifer's return as Baby Houseman has been confirmed, and efforts are being made to involve as many original cast members as possible. Since it's impossible to have Patrick reprise his iconic role, the sequel will honor him by incorporating his character into the story rather than recasting him. In fact, Lionsgate went as far as negotiating with Patrick's estate to facilitate his involvement in a meaningful way. However, his widow, Lisa Nimi Swayze, has expressed doubts, as she noted that Patrick had previously turned down sequel ideas, believing the original film's ending was perfect. Although the plot details for the sequel still remain a mystery, what we do know is that the basic premise involves Baby returning to Kellerman's resort for another summer of dancing and romance. The story will intertwine her journey with that of a new young couple at the resort, promising plenty of dancing and emotional moments. Still, the public's reception of this news has been a bit unexpected. Many seem to agree with Patrick, stating that the ending was just fine and it doesn't need a sequel, especially if they weren't promising that it'll be as perfect as the original movie. Others are super hyped for it and cannot wait for the movie to be out in theaters. Now that the movie is officially almost set for release, the best course of action would be to wait and see what magic is going to be made this time around. Patrick's knee injury. We know Patrick almost declined the role that gave him his big break, but we don't know why. Well, the answer's pretty simple. He had a severe knee injury he suffered during his Broadway career. In fact, Patrick's resume even noted no dancing to avoid aggravating his condition. Ironically, he ended up capturing millions of hearts with his dancing in a movie about dancing. Most people don't know. But behind the dancing and smiles, few knew the pain he endured daily, or that he even once risked leg amputation. Many remember Patrick for the consummate performer that he was, a talented actor, singer, heartthrob, and dancer. Few Hollywood stars after the golden age of musicals could offer such a complete package with the same style and charm. It's possibly why Dirty Dancing remains a timeless, coming-of-age romantic drama. But behind the scenes, real-life dramas were unfolding with Patrick himself fighting a personal battle. One of the film's iconic scenes, the lift in the lake, presented a challenge due to the cold water, but posed no significant physical or safety risks. Meanwhile, Patrick, on the other hand, faced more painful issues. He explained that because most of the cartilage in his knee was gone, the bones were just grinding painfully on each other. According to him, despite Jennifer being very light, lifting someone in water makes even the skinniest person feel like 500 pounds. These problems intensified during indoor lifts or scenes where Johnny taught Baby to balance on logs. Patrick frequently fell off, causing his knee to swell so much it required draining. In case you're wondering what the cause of this life-altering injury was, Patrick explained that they can be traced back to his teenage years when he was a promising high school football player who had sustained significant damage to his left leg. To strengthen his joints after the accident, he turned to dance and gymnastics, ultimately shifting from a sports career to dance. Eventually, he became a principal dancer with the Elliott Feld Ballet Company. But when he was just 24, tragedy struck once again. A tooth abscess led to a severe staph infection in Patrick's bloodstream, settling in his injured leg, leading doctors to warn that without urgent treatment, he risked leg amputation. Patrick recalled, "That was a miraculous one to make it through." Even though a decade had passed at the time he was filming Dirty Dancing, the pain in his leg persisted, exacerbated by the strenuous choreography and the tight 43-day filming schedule. Interestingly, viewers would never suspect his struggle, leading many to attest that Patrick really was effortlessly good at performing. His dedication to his craft and ability to mask his pain also highlighted his professionalism and commitment, making his portrayal of Johnny all the more remarkable. As we wrap up our journey through the untold stories and hidden moments behind Dirty Dancing, it's clear that this iconic film holds more depth and intrigue than meets the eye. From the contentious title that almost derailed its release to the unexpected chemistry between Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey, every aspect of its creation was fraught with challenges and surprises. Despite initial doubts, and behind-the-scenes tensions, Dirty Dancing soared to become a cultural phenomenon, defying expectations and winning hearts worldwide. As we eagerly anticipate the sequel and reflect on the film's impact, we're reminded that sometimes the most unexpected projects can leave a mark on our hearts and minds. Dirty Dancing remains a timeless classic, not just for its memorable scenes and electrifying dance sequences, but for the genuine human stories that unfolded both on screen and behind the curtain. Which of these scenes did you know about? Tell us in the comments. Also, let us know any scenes we might have missed. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to enjoy more exciting videos. Click play on the video on your screen.